Vodovodna Street, much like Rječina Street, which stretches parallel to it on the opposite Rječina River bank, also connects its story with the industrialization of Rijeka. In the street that has historically been called Via dei Molini after the water mills and Via del Marcello after the slaughterhouse, some of the first manufacturing plants in the city have developed. Today, at the end of the street, there is the control station of the city's water supply. They are responsible for today's name of the street, Vodovod meaning water supply system. The industrialization that happened in the second half of the 19th century has led to an opening of a number of industrial plants. In which rapid industrialization in the second half of the 19th century led to the opening of a number of industrial plants.
Kožara, or Tannery Rječina, initially Seaman Rječina, located at the very beginning and on both sides of the Vodovodna Street, has been in operation since 1879. The factory expanded and upgraded during its operation, and interestingly, in addition to factory plants, residential buildings were built for workers, which indicates the progressiveness of employers and investors who clearly had an ear for workers' needs and rights.
In the late 1870s, Mateo School erected a facility that soon grew into the School Foundry and Mint, which is now located at Vodovodna Street 2-5. The quality of metal in School's factory is evidenced by the fact that even today, walking through Rijeka, you can notice metal lids on the road and bollards in the port poured in this very foundry. At the beginning of the 20th century, it expanded into the area of the tannery and continued to operate here until the end of World War II, when the Rade Končar electrical factory began operating there. This architecture is still standing there, emptied of any function today.
The time of the industrial street is a time of steel and fire and a great need for materials. Therefore, in 1884, another metal foundry was being built in the city, Fonderia Metallic Husar, at today's address Vodovodna 15 and 17. The Trieste architect Zamatia, author of numerous representative historicist buildings in the city, designed the older building of the factory complex in 1886, and Giacomo Matic designed the newer one, built in 1905. Both were built in historicist style, characteristic for that time, and both included business and residential premises owned by Luigi Husar.
The growing population, both of the city and the monarchy, led to the development of the food industry in the city. Thus, pasta factories were created in the refurbished mills, and in 1886, the Cartesio e Curti pasta factory, Vodovodna Street 13, started with production. The factory was located on the grounds of today's autotrolley, public transportation utility. The complex expanded over time, so the 1911 project was signed by a renowned architect Emilio Ambrosini, an architect who also designed Ledana, ice plant building by Milan Gorup in 1895, on the other side of Rječina River in Rječina Street.
One of the most important projects of such kind was the construction of the city slaughterhouse and the house of the Superina family, built originally in 1907. In the following year, other workshops and refrigerators were built, while thermal energy produced in the nearby garbage incinerator from 1905 at the end of the street was used to start the machines. Experts of the city's technical office elaborated the technology of the plant, technical solutions, and the layout of the facilities, and Carlo Pergoli, also known as the architect of Rijeka's fish market, drafted the facade.
Levi Bianchi soap factory, today's Vodovodna Street 39, is the only to-date preserved facility of the former soap factory. It used to be a complex of businesses and residential buildings where soap was produced from the 80s of the 19th century until just before the end of World War II. In the 1920s, it was called Fabbrica Fiumana di Saponi, and it was located at Via dei Molini.
At the very end of the street, there was another important utility building, the thermal power plant. The electric current arrived to Rijeka very early. Already in 1885, Rijeka's theater was opened with the premiere of Verdi's Aida and illuminated by the first electric light bulb in the city. Electricity was produced by own machines, and shortly after that, In 1890, the first thermal power plant was opened, the electricity of which was used to illuminate port railway warehouses. The thermal power plant also used the energy from the garbage incinerator.
The Zvir spring delivered fresh drinking water to the water supply system of Rijeka and Sušak. Rijeka's aqueduct system was built in the 90s of the 19th century. The people of Sušak were later on obliged to purchase their water from Zvir, after the spring they normally used, not far from the paper mill, was polluted and caused an epidemic of typhus. In 1914, the people of Sušak built a new water supply system, which brought drinking water all the way to Sušak from the Rječina spring, which was 18 kilometers away.